ladies and gentlemen, Stanley Cup champion, hockey analyst. He'll be on the call for the Pittsburgh Penguins Vegas Golden Knights game tomorrow in Las Vegas. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Rupp.
Yeah, Rupper!
What's up? What's up, fellas? How are we?
Rupper, you're from Ohio, so I think you probably understand what AJ's talking about. You guys, how do you guys eat corn and serve corn to others on a regular basis? Is this kind of how it goes over there, Rupper?
Yeah, I caught the tail end. Are we talking about the proper way of eating it? I heard about putting the spikes in the side, all that. What are we talking about in particular?
Yeah, that and serving others your corn. But we'll go with how you would eat your corn on the cob. Are you spikes on the end guy? Is that your move, or do you cut off?
No. You can't cut the corn off. Like, just go get a bag of frozen corn if that's what you want to do, right?
Yeah, it seems like you guys all got issues with eating it.
Eat it like a sword.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can't. All right, anyways.
Just stab one side.
Let's get to hockey, shall we? Rupper, what Ovechkin's doing is obviously spectacular, especially this far into his career. It seems like every single night he's scoring at least a goal. This chase to get to Wayne Gretzky, the great chase, was obviously something that was talked about coming into the year. Did we expect him to be on this type of track to go get it? And what are your thoughts on what Ovi's doing right now?
Well, I mean, when he broke his leg, I don't think anybody thought this was going to be doable this year, right? Like, and he didn't miss that much time, but that just speaks to his durability his entire career. Like, he just doesn't miss games, even when he does. And this was probably his longest stretch of missing games. It's like he's going against what the doctors say it should be, and he comes back with a vengeance. So I think a lot of people are probably surprised. We thought it would bleed into probably next season, but you don't get to this type of number being like everybody else. And I think that's the biggest thing with this guy. He's 39 years old. Man, he just doesn't stop. He just scores goals, and this is exciting right now in Washington.
Are the Caps good? Are they good, or they're good? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that adds so much more to this. This isn't like a guy hanging on, just kind of keep adding to his grand total of goals scored. I mean, this is a team who's tied number one in the National Hockey League. They got. This is a team that could win the President's Trophy. They could win the Stanley Cup. And here's my other part about it too. I know that we're gonna focus on what he's going at right now, and that's Wayne Gretzky's record. I think this guy, if he wants to, I think this guy can get 1,000 goals. And if you look at it, it's only like 3 more years of playing the game. But I guess to the point, the Washington Capitals, like, this is a good squad. They got young guys on their team. They've got this Connor McMichael, Dylan Strome, still age appropriate. They've got Alexi Protas. They're loaded. Like, they're not going away anytime soon. So I guess the big thing is it's not like the team relies on Ovi. He doesn't carry that on his shoulders from a night-to-night basis. He just goes there, have fun, go to his little office, back scratcher, bang, pound some pucks, and next you know, like, they're winning hockey games regardless of Ovi scoring or not. I think that just adds to it. So, I mean, if this guy wants it, man, I think 1,000's definitely doable for him.
Nick just texted me an Ovechkin stat for this season. He had 15 goals in his first 18 games of the season. Then he sat out 16 games because of a fractured left fibula. Then he returned on December 28th, and he has scored 17 goals in 28 games. So in those 16 games, he missed out on the record. He would already have the record, seemingly, with the way he's gone. 20 games left. He'll be able to get there on the track that he's on, right in the path that he's on?
I think so. And the crazy part about it, too, through that stretch, even when he came back from that leg injury, you started looking at his goals per game average. It was the highest of his entire career. So he's 39 years old, and he's going at a better clip than he has when he was a young buck, high-stepping, a lot less gray hairs at that time. He's been incredible. And the big thing for me, too, when you look at this and you start going down the stretch, what I think would be perfect is you got last game of the regular season, April 17th, in Pittsburgh against the Penguins.
Yes.
And we've got Crosby and Ovechkin, who have carried this league for 20 years.
Yep.
How great would it be for us fans to watch that happen in Pittsburgh? I know Pittsburgh fans probably don't want it. Sidney Crosby doesn't want it, but it could be great for the game.
Yeah, I think what would be great is if the Pens decide to do that formation we've been talking about, where 4 guys just stand across the net and they don't move. And they actually create a human wall and say, not today, Ovi, not today. Especially, that's the only way Pittsburgh would win. I know Pittsburgh sucks. In the East, who else are we talking about other than Washington, Rupper?
So Washington, they're the big boys too, right? Like they play a heavy game, and I think that's going to be a big determining factor in the playoffs, especially in the Eastern Conference. The other big heavy team is the Florida Panthers. They made a massive deal the other day with Chicago getting Seth Jones. There's rumors that they're in on some other big game hunting. coming down the stretch here with the trade deadline coming up tomorrow. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, I think people now are talking about them, but they're back. I mean, for me, it's those three teams. It's Tampa, it's the Washington Capitals, and it's the Florida Panthers. They're going to be slugging it out. I think it's going to be an arms race in the next 24 hours to see who these guys get to kind of put them over the hump.
Okay, so Eastern Conference going to win it all, or Western Conference heavy? Is this going to be a Western Conference title?
So I was pretty bullish on the Edmonton Oilers. That's kind of changed in the last month or so. I don't know.
If McDavid wins the Four Nations, he stops caring about Lordo.
They look kind of like a shell of themselves. They're not defending at all. I'll say this. There's a lot of really good teams. I love the story of the Winnipeg Jets. They haven't gotten it done in the playoffs, so it's hard to really put my bet on them, and it'll be interesting to see what they do at the trade deadline. Vegas, though, man. Like, I'm sitting here in Vegas right now. This team is loaded. And I'm starting to hear all the insiders talking about some of the whispers out there. They've been big game hunters since they came into this league, and their name is surrounded all these big names that are out there still. I'm sitting here, like, I've heard whispers that potentially they can land an Erik Karlsson out of Pittsburgh. I've heard that they're in on Mikko Rantanen in Carolina. Like, these are the biggest of the bigs. Yeah, so it's nuts. They're the team in the West for me.
Okay, Vegas is the island of misfit toys. That's kind of how they view themselves, too. Cast-offs. Whenever you go into the expansion team and expansion draft, teams literally put players up, say, hey, these guys are available. Vegas Golden Knights obviously brings in Jackie Aces, all the boys, and they kind of rally around that fact that they were kind of cast-offs. So if they're continuing to trade for big-name guys, it feels like the right culture, it feels like the right time. Now, watching the Golden Knights go to Lordo again would be so great. Oh, my
God.
Especially for Stoner get another run at this entire thing.
Stoner could get, but hey, Aces, Aces is arguably having a career year. I mean, that's what I would say. I don't know what Rupper would say, and then you got guys like Noah Hannafin and Tomas Hertl who, same deal. Misfit toys kind of just cast off. Yeah. But if you had to put like a percentage on it, what chances would you give the Golden Knights for getting one of these kind of like premium pieces before tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, if I had to put a percentage, I'd give it a 70% chance. If these guys are in it,
we like 70.
I think they're gonna. Yeah, I think they're gonna do everything, and they do the impossible, like the things that people don't think is possible. And those things, I want to touch on that, Ty, because you bring up a good point. Everybody was having a conniption when this was going on with Stoner, right? And he was out, and until the playoffs started. It's happening all over the league right now. No one's saying boo about it. So this is the new way of doing it, kind of. If listen, we're not making up these injuries. Some of these injuries that happen, like, hey, just keep them out. We want a fresh body come playoff time, and it's opened up quite a bit of salary cap space for some of these teams to make those big moves. Now, is it going to be Erik Karlsson, which would be crazy because I'm here with Pittsburgh. Like we said, that game tomorrow night is after the deadline. If that's a trade that they make, Karlsson could just walk from one side of the arena to the other and play for the Golden Knights tomorrow. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but they're in on some on big guys. I think they're around the Mikko Rantanen situation in Carolina.
Come on,
all teams pretty much are. If they can land something like that, and Mikko Rantanen, if they could do a sign and trade, that could be something massive for this organization.
Yeah, we've been talking about Miko all week.
He's a dog.
That's who we've been talking about this entire time.
Chris has come early.
AJ will have the last question for you, but I just need to quickly ask, because you talk about tomorrow night and Karlsson going to the other end of the ice. And then Sidney Crosby, obviously fresh off of leading the Canadian boys to another title. And his record's like 46-3. Playing for Canada obviously takes a lot of pride in that. Still playing incredible hockey right now. But the Pens suck? Is that the Pens are just absolute shite? What happened here? What happened with the Pens?
Yeah, man, it's tough sledding. They're in this no man's land, but they've been in it, man. Pat, like we've seen it for a few years. Like they haven't been themselves, and it's like we see some of these other teams, and this has been a change of management, right? So this has gone on for a couple regimes now where it's like, what are we going to do? I think it's me, if I take off the broadcasting hat, you want conviction in your decisions, like, right? Like let's either retool this thing and go aggressively at it, or let's just keep it going. And it seems like it's kind of always been in the middle, and that's where they find themselves. They're a middling team that probably has fallen less than that this year. So we'll see, but I think they're going to make some moves to try to make themselves back into the playoff mix next year. And with Sid on your team, you certainly got an opportunity with that.
They were talking about Sid getting traded this year, right? One day, like actually being talked about?
Listen, man, I don't see it. I just don't. I don't see it. It maybe when some other dominoes potentially fall. The crew there with Gino, with Letang, with Crosby, with Mike Sullivan. He's part of that the connection as well. Sid will never be the first one to go. Never. So until some of those other guys, I'm not even saying it's going to happen. When those guys start going, then if Sid looks around and is like, all right, those years are kind of gone. We have to move on. Maybe it's a conversation, but I don't see that happening.
He looks around and goes, where's Gino? Where's Tanger? Where's Sully at? Oh, I'm the last one standing. All right, I outlived all of them. Brought some championship grit to this town. Maybe I go play with a Canadian friend of mine, which is what they were saying. He was going to go out to Colorado.
In Vegas.
Or
Marshawn.
In Vegas.
all right, last question here comes from AJ Hawk. Obviously, massive event happened in your guys' state of Ohio.
Yeah, Rupper, speaking of a team in playoff contention, the Columbus Blue Jackets took on the Detroit Red Wings and got a decisive victory in the shoe at Ohio Stadium. What are your thoughts about that? And it seems like overall it was a huge success, beautiful pictures, video, everything coming out. Seems like the NHL is great. Do you see this happening more and more? I mean, these drone shots are unbelievable. What do you think of this whole situation?
Yeah, so here's the big thing, AJ. When this came out, I mean, obviously being from Ohio, like I was so pumped for this to put Ohio hockey on the map, which has grown so much since I was a kid. And when it came out like this, I was like, oh man, are they going to be able to sell tickets all the way through?
Me too.
These two teams were not playoff teams. There's no projection that they're going to be this year. But they've proved everybody wrong, and they're in the hunt here. The Columbus Blue Jackets, man, we know the story. We know the storyline with the Johnny Gaudreau. It's that tragedy, but it goes even beyond that. Just what this organization's gone through over the years, and I got to see them up close and personal a little on that weekend. It's a special group. Like they bleed for each other, man. They're there for each other, and what happened in that 48 hours? Because remember, 2 days before that, they won a huge game in Detroit, and then they win this one. They're exciting. They're high event hockey, man. They're going to score 6 goals a game, or they're going to give up 6. It's a lot of action. You have to root for them. But as far as being at the stadium there, that place is legit. It's so cool. I'll be honest with you. It wasn't the nicest in some regards. I'm just saying that. I'm just saying that. Like, I'm just saying that the underguts. I've never been to a college stadium. It's old. It's just like concrete. I was like, all right, but when you filled it up with the fans and then the drone shots and we know about the history in that stadium. It was an awesome event the NHL put on.
Filled it up, 94,730 people. One dog was in attendance, and Peter Herbstreit as well. Obviously, we saw him. But to your point, whenever I heard about this, I'm like, Red Wings, Blue Jackets? Horseshoe has 100,000 people. This is not going to be it. And then AJ said, Ohio State people will show up, brother. You open up the Horseshoe, you give them an opportunity to go into this stadium and just take pictures or walk around, they'll show up. But it felt like it was a Blue Jackets heavy crowd. And it's like, it was a great moment for hockey, especially coming off of 4 Nations. And Rupper, we appreciate the hell out of you. Good luck tomorrow night on the call.
All right, boys. We'll get talking to you guys later after trade deadline, maybe. So take care.
Hopefully some moves happen. And is America going to beat Canada in the Olympics?
TBD, man. I don't know.
Dude.
Canada's a tough out, man. I don't know.
Thought you were from Ohio, bro.
Need to beat them.
Hey, do I want them to? Yeah, I want them to. I just don't. I don't think you can beat Canada twice in the tournament. So maybe lose the first time. Maybe you can beat them in a gold medal.
Believe,
let's beat them both times. All right, I'm done with it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Rupper.